I think we need to get to our flagship segment, Asshole of the Week.
Bum, bum, bum.
I mean, everyone's asshole of the week, of course, is Rob Manfred. He is the world's punching bag at this point. Just the way he has handled all this, his just he's just not a likable person. On top of all his duplicitous nature and just bald faced lies. By the way, I bring this up all the time. Is it bald face or bold face? I never understood that. Like somebody that lies with a beard is less offensive than someone who lies without a beard. Is that how that works?
Oh, I'm not aware of this.
Please, regardless, I think it's boring.
Please let me know.
I think it's boring to make Rob Manfred our asshole of the week just because he's been asshole of the week forever. We made him asshole of the year in 2020, but
he's such a. It's too easy.
I also think it's inaccurate.
Yeah, and no, I think he's a puppet.
He is. I love the way I think Tom Waddle coined the phrase in Chicago, at least. He calls Rob Manfred and other commissioners like him, like Roger Goodell, they are Meatshields. They are Meatshields for the owners.
Yeah, that's great. That's
literally, they're humans being put up there to absorb all the arrows being thrown at the owners, and he is doing a perfect job at that. If that is his job description, the real assholes in this are the owners. They are the ones that are not agreeing to the reasonable terms. They want to break the union. They want to keep their billions for themselves, and they're not negotiating in good faith. And that is the crux of the issue that we've spelled out over and over again, and for 2 years in this podcast, and specifically tonight, breaking down their statements. But Rob Manfred is the messenger, and the whole world is shooting the messenger at this point. The real message is coming from the owners, and we can specifically call out the 5 team owners of this podcast that we follow specifically. I'm going to call out Chris Ilitch, owner of the Tigers. I'm going to call out Tom Ricketts, owner of the Cubs. I'm going to call out Jerry Reinsdorf, owner of your White Sox. I'm going to call out
Catalyst.
I'm going to call out John Fisher, owner of the A's, and I'm going to call out Charles Johnson, who we had to look up. I had to look up who the fucking owner of the San Francisco Giants is, because
he may be the most diabolical of them all.
These guys hide in the shadows. They hide behind Rob Manfred and make him absorb the brunt of this justified horrific criticism of their business practices. And it is cowardly. It is shameful. It is why Rob Manfred makes a shit ton of money, but it's also why we are in the state we are in right now. It's why we do not have baseball, is cowardly asshole lawyers, or asshole owners. So, I mean, I would love to give Rob Manfred our asshole of the week dishonor, as I like to call it, but I think it's got to be those owners.
Yeah. And I don't, I'm not listening to San Francisco sports radio. You're in Detroit. But I would say, in regards to hiding behind Rob Manfred, I would say in Chicago, both of our owners are more outspoken.
Mm-hmm. They're celebrities.
As Ricketts was famously quoted here over and over again with the biblical proportions. Biblical losses. Yeah. They're not afraid to speak their mind, whether we agree with it or not, to the press. And
we haven't heard a peep out of them since.
We haven't heard a peep out of them since the start of this, which is kind of surprising because Reinsdorf was very vocal in 1994.
Reinsdorf is also 86 years old, so I think I'm not sure what capacity he's at right now, but I'm still going to call him an asshole.
Yeah, no, but he was the reason that there is some irony or almost justification that 94 affected the White Sox was that he was the catalyst, one of the main catalysts of it.
Yeah, he was the hardliner. He was the hardliner of hardliners.
Yeah, so the fact that happened, while you can feel sympathy for the fans and the players, you also are like, well, your owner's the dickhead who who was really the heart, like you said, hardliner in this
Well,
whole negotiation. But
he just showed the true nature of ownership. They
yeah,
are more interested in money than they are in winning ball games and bringing championships to their cities.
and
That's the bottom line. I
yeah,
mean,
I mean,
it's a harsh fact, but we've seen it over and over again.
and we talked about this last week, but the reason the owners have this stance is, unlike the players, they don't rely on baseball for their main source of income.
Right. They don't have to worry.
And
They don't have to worry about. They could lose this whole season. And
they could lose the whole
them.
season. Doesn't matter.
I mean, we brought it up last week. Like Chris Ilitch, his money doesn't come from. I mean, he gets money from the Tigers, but his money is from Little Caesars Pizza.
Yeah,
shitty pizza. Jerry Reinsdorf has multiple.
He's just. I mean, they're all diversified. Whether we know whether we see him out front of a business like Chris Ilitch is, it's different. He's a national wide brand. Reinsdorf, I can't associate with a national wide brand, but he's diversified. He was diversified enough to buy the White Sox back in the 80s. So
and the Bulls
and the Bulls, yeah. So he's okay. He owns part of the United Center. He's got revenue coming in every orifice.
I do I do find it interesting that Tom Ricketts and Jay Reinsdorf are somewhat celebrities in Chicago, but you never hear Chris Ilitch in Detroit. I think.
Okay, yeah. So that was what I was getting at.
Yeah, like, I think that's the majority of the league is you don't know your owners, and like
interesting.
Said,
okay, that's John what I was trying Fisher,
to get at. And Charles Johnson. I mean, you and I aren't on the West Coast, so we're not immersed in that nearly as much. But I can tell you for a fact, nobody knows much about Chris Ilitch at all. Everyone knew Mike Ilitch, his father, who he would be the antithesis in many ways of these current owners, because he spent crazy money on his team trying to win a championship, where we see these owners nickel and diming everything away, right, trying not to spend a single extra cent that they don't have to. So, I mean, of course, I'm deifying a dead man that brought many Stanley Cups to Detroit in Mike Ilitch. With the Red Wings, and he got us to the World Series 2 times.
I mean, you had some very, very great baseball years in Detroit.
I had no problems with Mike Ilitch.
No, I wouldn't have had any problems with him as an owner either. He went for it. It doesn't always work out, but he went for it with the Tigers.
Overall, the jury is out on Chris Ilitch because he's young in his regime at this point. We don't really know what he will eventually spend or not spend on the Tigers, but from his collective actions of the owners, I am more than willing to make him and the other 5 owners and all owners in this situation are assholes of the week.
Yeah, no doubt. The Manfreds, the meat shield for the owners.
I love that. I think that is Tom Waddle that came up with it. I've actually heard that on the score today, meat shield, and they didn't give Tom Waddle credit.
Of course not. Why would they do that? That's a competitor.
Yeah, there's some talk about animosity between two groups, between ESPN 1000 in Chicago and
the
Score 670 in Chicago. That there's some animosity there. I love it.